Hello, I am the Blind GM, and I have a bit of a gaming story to share with you. So strap in. It's going to be interesting. Spoilers for Baldur's Gate 3 and Descent into Avernus. Firstly, a little bit of background and context. About a year ago, I decided to run the module Descent into Avernus with my home game. This was a little bit after Baldur's Gate 3 had come out on console, and I had had a chance to play through it 3 or 4 times. Since the game, Baldur's Gate 3, takes place very shortly after Descent into Avernus, and the events of Descent into Avernus have a very real impact on what happens in Baldur's Gate 3, I thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do, particularly since most of my friends in my home game had not played Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Descent into Avernus, as I have previously said on this page, is a very poorly written module. It is not any one writer's fault. It is, in fact, too many cooks in a kitchen situation. So, it took a great deal of prep work to get it enjoyably playable. And during that time, several of my friends started to play Baldur's Gate 3. And as such, when they built their characters, they tied it in to characters from the city of Elturel, which is the city that gets pulled into Avernus. One of the characters that they were tied to was the bard, Alfira. So we played all the way through the events of Descent into Avernus. At the very end, the party gets sucked into Mount Celestia, while the events of Baldur's Gate 3 take place on the Prime Material Plane, at which point they are returned to the Prime Material Plane. Here's the trick. Alfira was the lover of one of the PCs in my game. The Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough that I based this on was a Dark Urge playthrough. I think you can see where this is going. The trick is that this was a redemption arc for a Dark Urge playthrough. So at the end of the game, he decided in our world to do his best to restore Alfira to life. And so I devised a ritual. Since she was sacrificed to Baal, he's not going to give up souls easily. So I devised a ritual for the PCs to kind of work through and play through to restore her soul to a soul gem and then allow whomever to resurrect her as necessary. All of this happened at the end after the events of Descent into Avernus. These are 13th level characters at this point. They played from first level to 13. It was a whole thing. But at the end, they were able to get Alfira's soul back. Now, backing up a little bit, at the end of Descent into Avernus, you have the opportunity to redeem Zariel. Her sword is the key to this. The first person that picks up her sword in the game is immediately attuned to it and transformed into an angel. So, when the player whose paramour Alfira was went to resurrect her, as he was a cleric, he brought her the sword of Zariel as well. And as he was casting the Raised Dead, he put the sword in her hand, such that she had the opportunity to return, not just as a tiefling, but as whomever she wanted to be. It was truly an epic and beautiful moment. There was even a moment where my Dark Urge got on his knees before her and begged for forgiveness, saying, "It was not my will that slayed you, but it was my hand, and I will bear that responsibility until the end of my days." And she forgave him. Basically said, "I don't ever want to see you again because, let's face it, I remember dying and that you were the one that killed me, and so that trauma is not going away, but, I forgive you." It was a beautiful moment.